You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Welcome to They Live by Film, a platform dedicated to bringing you film discussion and interviews from around the world. I am Adam Lundy, and I am joined as always by my co-hosts Chris Haskell and Zach Bryant.
Hello,
Hello.
hello.
Buenos
Hey,
dias, Chris. You're joining us from a
buenos
more
dias.
exotic location this week.
Yeah, I'm in Mexico City as we record this, so apologies for the sound quality. I don't have my wonderful Shure microphone with me. But thanks y'all for being flexible.
It's all good, man. All good.
How are you?
Yeah, no complaints. The sun is shining. I have a week off this week because I'm going to So my schedule this week to work was Tuesday to Saturday, but I'm away at a bachelor, what we call a stag weekend, but what you guys would call a bachelor's weekend, bachelor party, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm away that, so I had to book off Friday and Saturday, so I could obviously get time off work to go to that. And then I had Wednesday booked off because I had to go to the dentist. So I said, well, why the fuck am I going to work Tuesday and Thursday? I'll just take the whole week off and enjoy my life for a week.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's been great because the weather has been really good here in Ireland. It's like the first good week we've had since the start of the year. So it's like been perfect timing for me to take a week off, just been able to enjoy my life and go for runs and walks and stuff. And obviously daylight savings helps as well. So yeah, I'm great. I have no
So,
complaints.
so I did have a question. So, I guess we would, I guess, more accurately call that like a guys' weekend more than a bachelor weekend, right? Because that's for us, that's more just like right before you get married.
Oh, really? Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So usually that's like, I don't know, guys' night out or something. I don't know if we have an actual name for it. I can't think of. Can you, Chris?
Wait, sorry. It's not related to a marriage. It's just a guy that wants to hang out.
oh no, this is related to a marriage for this one.
Oh, okay. Then yeah. Sorry, I thought you just meant you guys were just going out. I didn't. I thought it was for
Oh,
you.
okay.
That's why I was
No,
confused. Okay, I was
no. One
like,
of my friends from school is getting married in the summer, so
oh,
this is
okay.
like I don't want to call it a bachelor party because that would imply it's just like a one night kind of party, whereas we're going away for the weekend. So like
Gotcha.
in Ireland,
Okay.
we would just call it a stag weekend, that's what we call it here, and I think in the UK they call it pretty the same as well, stag do or stag weekend. That's what we call it here. But I didn't know if you guys did bachelor weekends or if it was just a bachelor
Yeah,
party, even if it's a whole
sure, sure,
weekend. I
sure.
don't know what you'd call it.
Sometimes
So
people like, yeah, sometimes people will go to Vegas or like go to Mexico or I don't know, just go hunting or something like that, right? Yeah, so
mm.
totally.
So yeah, that's my plan for this weekend anyway.
Nice. People, my friends knew me pretty well for my big stag weekend. They found a house with a ping pong table in it, and we watched. They watched all the movies that they would never watch normally. So we watched like funny games and just like different things that they would normally never watch. And they were
Jesus.
just like, "Oh God, Chris, you're so fucked up," as they were. But it was sweet of them.
They're very good friends, clearly.
They were. They were.
How about you, Zach? How are you keeping?
Busy, very very busy all the time.
That's always good.
Yeah. I mean, we just cases at work are just it's all boring work stuff. It's just we're at a weird fluctuation because of the time of year. So
Fair's
What
fair.
does the time of year have to do with it? Like, is it because?
money, completely money.
Oh, okay.
Fiscal year starts over in July, and the counties have
Oh,
ran through all of their money, and now they're like, well, we actually don't have any kids that need the services, which is yes, we absolutely do, but we can't afford to give them the services, so we're not going to
hmm.
because because they've been over budget like almost every year, so now they're trying to not go over budget. Yeah, this is the boring work part of everything.
No, I understand now. I got you. I got you. Yeah, end of fiscal can either be good if you're flush with cash or terrible. Sorry, you're in the terrible bucket.
From a film or watching standpoint, I can go through mine because I've had a super busy March, so I didn't watch a whole ton. Um, last episode I said I would start my Twin Peaks rewatch. I finished that. So I got all the way through, including Fire Walk with Me and The Return and everything like that. Still so fucking good. I like The Return more and more every time I see it. I was one of the people who didn't really like it when it aired because it just wasn't what I was expecting.
Oh, that's
And
interesting. Okay. Okay. I just
yeah,
figured you did from the onset.
no, see, because I'm a nostalgia whore, as you guys know. I am a that is one way to get me. If you get me into nostalgia, I will give standing ovations all day. So obviously, Twin Peaks: The Return. Not to give spoilers if Chris eventually wants to watch it, but like it's very anti-nostalgia. David Lynch kind of said, "Oh, you want to see all your cool friends? Well, fuck you. We're not doing that." So
You want it to look like a soap opera? Nope, not gonna
yeah,
happen.
go fuck basically everything that you wanted from Twin Peaks, go fuck yourself. You're not getting it. But it's yeah, I like it more and more every time I watch it. It's some of the it's probably the best TV ever made, really. Let's be real. It's an 18-hour movie. Um but incredibly good. So I enjoyed that. Um, I've been watching weirdly a lot of, well, I say a lot of TV, a whole two TV series, which is a lot more than what I normally watch. I've been watching White Lotus. I don't know if you guys watch White Lotus or if you know
My
much about
sister's
it.
been trying to get me to watch it.
It's good, man. It's a good show.
But if
It's
I watch that before I watch Succession, she's gonna be mad at me. So I gotta watch that first.
I can't
Because
speak
she
for Succession. I've never seen it, but White Lotus is good. Cast is always solid. This season's a bit is kind of a lot not a lot is happening compared to previous seasons, but the last episode is airing this weekend, so we'll see what happens with it. Yeah, it's a good series. I don't know if you guys know much about it, but it's kind of like an anthology series that takes place at luxury resorts owned called the White Lotus. So the first series was in Hawaii, second series was in Italy, this series
Okay.
is in Thailand. It's a new cast every time, but there is one sort of plot thread that's gone through each season. So it's not an anthology in a sense where you can just kind of pick up with season three or season two or whatever, because there is one singular plot thread that's carried on through the three series. Um, but everything else is kind of new each time. Um, Parker Posey is in this season and she's so funny. Because yeah, I love Parker Posey. And ironically, I didn't realize this to the last episode, but there's a Scream 3 connection because Parker Posey plays the mother of a character, and in real life, his mom was also in Scream 3. She plays the like Neve Campbell actress. I can't remember her actual name, but the actress is supposed to be like the Neve Campbell character in Stab. That's his real mom, and obviously Parker Posey plays his TV mom. So I just thought that was funny.
Oh,
Um, so there's a little Scream 3 connection in there for aficionados like myself. Um, in terms of
and as Chris
movies,
would say, it's cute because it's Scream.
exactly. Um, in terms of movies, the only couple just to mention, because obviously I already mentioned Fire Walk with Me. I watched a newer Soderbergh, not the new Soderbergh, but like the newish Soderbergh, the one that came out at the end of last year called Presence. Um, just pretty interesting. The concept is interesting. I don't know if Zach, you've probably seen it. Chris, I don't know if you
No,
know about it.
I
Oh,
missed it
really?
in theaters. Yeah,
Okay.
I saw the other Soderbergh movie that came
So
out this year.
it's kind of like Paranormal Activity meets a chamber piece. I don't know if you know the gimmick is basically that the whole film is from the point of view of a ghost. Um,
Okay.
So like everything is just, gliding around rooms and sort of standing in corners watching people have conversations as this family's life and their drama unfolds. And everything's done in very, very long takes because you spend the entire film in the body of a ghost, basically. You never see the ghost or anything. It's just everything from the ghost's point of view. Um, Concept is interesting. The actual film itself, not super strong. The plot and stuff is just fine. But yeah, the gimmick is interesting. So, if you like gimmicky movies, then I'd recommend catching it. It's very short as well. I think it's only like 80 something minutes. It's not a lot of time investment needed for it. Um,
is it shot
yeah.
on iPhone?
I
No, he's
actually
given
don't
up on
know.
that gimmick. Yeah, he's given up on
Yeah,
that gimmick. He's back to normal.
Oh,
I
okay, good.
assume he shot it on some kind of sort of entrapment that it was attached to someone. because
Okay.
it's very slick movements and stuff. Yeah, it
It
was
was like
interesting.
shot on the GoPro.
Yeah, kind of like had that kind of fisheye lens kind of feel like a GoPro would have. Um, but yeah, like it's not amazing or anything. I'd probably never watch it again, but it's kind of an interesting experiment. And then the other film I watched was a classic, Leave Her to Heaven. Don't know if you guys have seen Leave Her to Heaven.
No, I have
Um,
not.
it's basically like a kind of like a mix of a melodrama, like a Douglas Sirk melodrama, has that kind of technicolor, but it has very kind of dark noirish undertones to it. So it's actually very fucking bleak for a 1945 film. They go places with this. Gene Tierney is the main character. Obviously, if you guys have seen Laura or other noirs, you'll know who Gene Tierney is. She's great in it. Vincent Price has a small role in it as well. It's a really good film. It's usually called like a color noir because it has like I said that kind of lush Technicolor, um, 40s 50s melodrama look to it, but the actual plot itself and the themes and stuff would definitely more fall into a traditional film noir. So I'd recommend it. It was good. And that's pretty much me apart from the stuff we're going to talk about today.
Chris,
Thanks.
what I know you're on been traveling a bit, so what have you had to watch on the plane?
Yeah, it's been a lot of oh gosh, you know what? I've been using the plane to sleep. Um,
Unfortunate.
I know,
I'm
but
jealous, honestly. I can't sleep on a plane.
yeah, I used to not be able to, but kind of out of necessity now, I can that hum of the engine is like soothing for me now. So I just kind of crash. Um, at a minimum, usually I'll get like an hour and a half every flight. Sometimes I'll sleep the whole flight, depending on how much I've done outside of the flight. But I've had to watch a lot for Vinegar Syndrome, not surprisingly. I can't remember what we spoke about last time, but I there so I went through okay, Brimstone and Treacle is have you seen it by chance, Adam? It's an early British movie with Sting in the main role.
Never even
I've
heard
seen
of
it.
it. Oh,
Zach, you've seen it?
No, I haven't. I was just fucking with you because you didn't ask me.
I thought maybe there's a chance it would have been on TV or something. But anyways, it's like it's so dark. Sting Sting plays a guy. Well, shoot, I shouldn't give spoilers because it's a new release from Vinegar Syndrome. But like he plays a guy that's like I don't even know how to best describe it. He basically is just like kind of it's like a really dark, messed up Mary Poppins where he like comes into this rich family's house and like tries to take care of their daughter, but then she got in an accident and she can't talk, and she's like bedridden her whole life. But then the premise of the film is that through rape he is able to like get her talking again. And I just don't know what the directors were trying to say with this movie. It's like really, it's just so weird. I don't,
Coke.
uh,
They're saying they were on Coke.
yeah, basically. And then speaking of cocaine, there's a great double feature called Devil Fetus and Her Vengeance. There's a category three double feature. And it's great. Like Her Vengeance is a rape revenge film. And the kills in it are like the best way I can describe it is if imagine Home Alone was made by like super R rated or like whatever's after R, like NC-17 rated for violence. Um, but there's like a lot of contraptions and like a lot of things swinging and oil poured on people and bubbling faces and stuff as they're chasing after this girl or this woman. And then Double Fetus is kind of what it sounds like. It would be just as crazy as it sounds like it would be. Um, and then I'm excited to watch. I haven't seen it yet, but there's a Peter Greenaway film about architecture called The Belly of an Architect. I'm excited to see. And I have to call out The Carpenter. I can't remember if we spoke about it last episode or not, but I have to call out The Carpenter because that is just a horror movie everybody should see. It's super weird, and um, Wings Hauser's awesome in it and like really sells it. He goes full ham the whole movie, and he just I don't know, he owns it. I love it. Um, yeah, I mean, there's more I could talk about, but like this, it's been kind of a light month for me, just like you, because I've been busy, super busy at work. Last 2 weeks, I think there's 3 different nights where I only had 4 hours sleep, and um, just trying to get through quarter end. The end of March for us is always pretty brutal, and it was right on cue this year. So, anyways, yeah, that's what I've been watching. And then obviously these three Vertigo movies, which I can't wait to talk about.
Well, I will finish up. So I'm gonna just for my record, as we record this, I'm at 173 movies for the year. So just light work so far.
Amazing.
As far as what I've watched, let me see. Knocking it down. Let's see. I watched Strange Days, which is probably should have watched that closer to New Year's. Catherine Bigelow movie, basically Blade Runner. Adam, if you haven't seen it, I think you'd like it. It's basically Catherine Bigelow and James Cameron's version um, of Blade Runner, where Ralph Fiennes plays a dude who deals VR porn and gets into a
Sounds
murder plot.
familiar. Yeah, sounds familiar. Is it Strange Days or Strange Ways? Sorry.
Days, Days.
Days. Yeah, it sounds familiar.
It has Angela Bassett in it as well.
Nice. I'll add it to my watch list.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier to find in the UK than it is in the US. Like they have not made a single release here beyond the DVD. So I watched it with completely legal means, of course. But yeah, that was really enjoyable. I remember watching it because I didn't really know much about it. I was just sitting there like, huh, this kind of feels like a James Cameron movie. And then I look it up that he was the writer and the editor. I'm like, oh, and his wife directed it. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, this is making sense now. And then let's see, I watched Rambo or Rambo 4, since that's a lot less complicated. So I watched fourth Rambo again. I saw that when I was like 13 or 14 in theaters, and I'm amazed they let me in to watch it. Like as far as like theatrical R-rated movies, it still might be like the most violent one I've ever seen as far as it goes for R rating. Like kids get torn apart with 50 cal machine guns, and they're like, "Yeah, R rating, that's fine." Stallone wrote and directed it, so we can do that. That's fine. And yeah, it's a great movie. Honestly, I think I like it better than First Blood, which is probably blasphemous, but I get to see people torn apart with 50 cal machine guns, so that's right up my alley. Um, and then let's see. Oh, me and my girlfriend went to the movies to go see the new Snow White movie. And for all those people who are saying it's completely terrible, it's not worth your time, they are 100% right. It is horrible. Absolutely abysmal.
I can't believe you would say this about our good friend and Fast and Furious alum, Gal Gadot.
I know. I can't. I don't. She just phoned it in for once. Yeah.
How could she do this to her
How could she?
fans?
I mean, when they get to the point where they wrote like a villain song for her for this movie, and she cannot sing, and I don't. I guess they tried to auto tune her. That didn't help. It was bad. I think that's the first time in a while where I felt like I had secondhand embarrassment. I was like, this is bad.
Why is the movie so bad? Can you help us?
Just fundamentally, it doesn't work as a film. Like to me, like if Disney's gonna do these live action, and I think they have made a few good live action stuff. I think a lot of their villain stuff they've made is actually pretty good. I think 101 Dalmatians with Glenn Close from the '90s really good. So they're capable of doing this, and I think Jungle Book is fine. They've done some successful. I think Cinderella is really good. But this one just doesn't work as a movie. I could not imagine a kid walking in and watching this and enjoying this film because it doesn't work as a musical. It doesn't work as because, yeah, I mean, they have these songs, so they'll have like things like "Hi Ho," which feels like a very 1930s song, and then they'll have something really modern like as the new song they wrote, and it just doesn't gel. There's no fluidity to this like musical part. It doesn't work as a fairy tale because there's no real moral to it. Like not really, nothing interesting. It has no style because everything looks cheap. Like they pull out the heart box, and I swear to God, it looks just like the plastic one that you can buy as a popcorn holder from the lobby. Like it looks like it's made out of plastic, and I'm sure it is, but it's like this is a $275 million movie. Like, how the hell did this happen? Jewelry looks cheap. And some of this you could say, oh, well, maybe it's a stylistic choice. There's no style to this movie at all. There's nothing stylistic about it. And I mean, and then it doesn't really work as like an homage or anything to the original Snow White because it just feels like they're ashamed of the original Snow White, and it's like, all right, that's cool. So it just didn't work on like any level. People bring up Rachel Zegler as a highlight of a movie. I mean, she's probably the best part of the movie, and she's not that good in it. She's fine. Her singing's good, but she's also like belting every song there. So it's just like, I don't know. It doesn't make me feel like this is Snow White at all. Doesn't really, I don't know. Just none of it really worked for me. I thought the Hi Ho song was actually really good. And I was like, they should have just made this as a horrifying 3D Robert Zemeckis animated movie. And I actually think it would have worked better because the scenes where no humans are in it is the highlight of the film, because it just looks like a 3D animated film.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it honestly, I never thought they'd get worse than The Lion King, and this is worse. At least The Lion King worked as a movie.
I can't wait to watch it. This sounds like a disaster.
It is. You should really watch it just to see how bad it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we followed that up with A Working Man, which is Jason Statham, Potboiler, David Ayer directed. It's exactly what I expected, and I enjoyed it. So that one's pretty good. Woman in the Yard was boring. I was really disappointed. That one was really, really boring. I took my actually it was a reward day for my kid. That was the movie he chose to go see, and we're like an hour and 10 minutes into this film, and he asked me if we can leave. So he also found it boring as hell. And I was like, well, we might as well just finish it out, mostly so I could log it. And I wouldn't have to start it over. It was bad. And then in honor, my last one is, since Val Kilmer passed away the other day, I decided to watch a Val Kilmer film. And I watched a movie called Mindhunters, which I'm very thankful for because I have for years had this visualization of, I have this memory of two people shooting at each other under the water. And I remember my dad talking, like discussing, like, this doesn't make any sense. And that's the only memory of that movie I have. And I was like 10 years old. And every time there's like two people shooting each other in the water, I think back to that scene. And last night I just randomly picked this movie, and that's the one. That's where it came from, and I was so happy that I knew this movie was real. But the movie itself is it's an Agatha Christie thing. It's basically Clue made by Rennie Harlan. With LL Cool J dropping one-liners in a movie that does not need one-liners. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Very nice.
To be fair, every movie needs one line.
Yeah, especially if you're gonna get LL Cool J in it. Like they were sitting there thinking he couldn't like do anything. It's like, dude, he just like fought Michael Myers like 4 years before this. He can do this.
Ladies love Cool James, man.
Well,
Cool. I guess we'll jump into the featured presentations, I guess.
yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about some Vertigo. See if Chris now has some appreciation for the Alfred Hitchcock classic. Alfred Hitchcock classic. So there we go. It's too early.
Yes, I suppose actually want to kind of refresh the listeners' minds as to what we're going to start with and then kind of the rationale behind this pick.
Sure. So essentially, I picked three movies that are heavily influenced. I think influence is a good word, a respectful word, to Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. Chris, famously, if you have heard that episode, was not as keen on Vertigo as me and Adam are. So I thought that if I chose some more genre specific directors who are a little bit more in Chris's wheelhouse, maybe that appreciation will build through. So we're going to start with One on Top of the Other, which is a Fulci film. And then we're going to work on Brian De Palma's Obsession, which, Adam, I know you're excited to see. And then we're going to finish up with Park Chan-wook's Decision to Leave, his most recent film.
Awesome. One on top of the other. Do you want to read out the kind of description, or do you want me to rattle it off here? I have Letterboxd in front of me.
Yeah, I got it. So
Awesome.
One on Top of the Other. What is the most incredible thing a woman ever did for $1 million? A San Francisco doctor encounters a prostitute who bears a striking resemblance to his late wife. I love I wish all Letterboxd descriptions were like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. Obviously, we'll get into the plot and stuff, but that's both apt and also not apt at all.
Yeah.
For describe. It's pretty good middle ground. It's funny that you picked a Fulci film because obviously I'd kind of watched a few Fulci films at the end of last year, after kind of never seeing anything from him. So I was more kind of familiar, less with his giallos, but more his kind of supernatural horror, like City of the
Mhm.
Living Dead and The Beyond. Those were the two kind of most recent Fulci films that I'd seen, which are like super thin on plot and very, very heavy on like vibes and atmosphere.
Yeah.
They're kind of like Italian John Carpenter movies in a way.
It's
Um,
apt.
yeah. No, I'd seen Don't Torture a Duckling, which is a Giallo film.
That is a
Um,
wild Giallo film to start with for him too.
Very crazy. That was my first Fulci film that I'd ever seen because we watched that in the film club.
Oh, that's right, we did. Okay.
That's
Sometime
right.
at midway through last year. That was the first Fulci film I'd ever seen. And there's a few more
It
on
is a
my
great
watch
intro.
list that I want to get to, like Lizard in a Woman's Skin, for example. But I didn't really know what to expect going into this, apart from the Vertigo connections, because I had only ever seen crazy Giallo or vibey supernatural. So I was a bit unsure. And this one's kind of neither. I guess you'd call it a Giallo, but it's not really. It doesn't
It's
it
like he's
doesn't
tipping his dipping his toes in more than
yeah.
anything.
This one was before Duckling, I would imagine. Yeah, it was a couple
Yeah,
of years
this was I think
before.
is officially his first Giallo.
Yeah. And it's 1969, so that's early for Giallo. Like that's before Argento made a Giallo film, right? We did Bird with Crystal Plumage, is that 1970?
Yes, that's 70 or 71.
So this is early even for Giallo. It's like the genre
A little after
itself.
Bava.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like, a little like, before, I suppose when I say early for Giallo, I mean like it's before the boom,
Yeah, for sure.
after Crystal Plumage. So it's an early from a Giallo point of view. I guess that's maybe why it's not as tropey, I guess, as some 70s Giallo films are.
It's like watching like Tourist Trap right after Halloween comes out. And you're like, okay, this isn't just a ripoff of Halloween. But then you go like 2 years later and you're like, oh, everything's a ripoff of Halloween now.
Yeah, kind of. Um, like I enjoyed this film to a degree. I didn't love it or anything. Probably one of those films I'll probably never watch again. Um, but it's an interesting exercise in style. It's very steamy. It's very horny. The lead actor, Gene Zarell, is handsome as fuck. I was actually very distracted for a while. Like, how am I supposed to like pay attention to the plot when this handsome dude is just taking up every scene, and getting all the girls? But I think out of the three, well, maybe that's a lie. I was going to say maybe out of three, this is the most like Vertigo, but Obsession exists, so maybe I can't really say that. But
No,
this
I
is
was gonna say something
very
similar.
Vertigo.
Aesthetically, they really like went for Vertigo here, right? Like,
Yeah, especially with it being in San Francisco,
yeah,
which just
yeah,
means they sent a camera crew out to San Francisco to film some exterior shots.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, there's that one scene where they're driving down the swirly part too, right?
Oh, I should have looked up how much of this film's actually because I was thinking it was gonna be like Zombie, where I swear I think none of the films in New York except for like the exterior stuff, and then everything
Exactly.
else was filmed in Italy or somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this definitely is like, we made this joke before about, Italian cinema not really giving two shits about copyright or anything like that. This definitely feels like a film that was made to capitalize on Vertigo, which makes sense. It was made kind of 10 years later. It wasn't like an immediate reaction like stuff like Zombie, for example. It wasn't like one of these reactionary films. Um, you know, this was clearly a case because Vertigo wasn't an immediate hit either, because obviously it's much darker than a lot of the films that Hitchcock was making at that time. Vertigo kind of became more loved as time went on. So it kind of made sense that some producer somewhere kind of said, this Vertigo film that came out 10 years ago, this was great. Maybe we should try and do our own spin on that, but make sure we add lots of breasts. That's very important.
Well,
Um,
yeah. I mean, this was also Fulci's horny era, right? Like there was, if you look at the films made kind of around this, he
Which I mean,
was,
he was in that horny era for like 20 years because New
yeah,
York Ripper came out in like the 80s.
bro is
yeah,
down bad.
I know. And then Devil's Honey. Have you, did we
I
watch
own
Devil's
it. I
Honey?
haven't seen it yet.
Oh my
No.
God, that is that's the most hilarious. I'm sorry, just for a quick tangent, Adam. I don't mean to interrupt you. You're going on, but there's a scene where a guy plays a saxophone into a woman's vagina and gives her an orgasm, and you're
Jesus
like, man,
Christ.
this guy's on something great.
Thank you, Severin, for making that available in 1080p.
Yeah, exactly.
I am. I have the location information that you guys are looking for. So much of the film was shot on location in San Francisco, Reno, and
Oh,
Sacramento. However, interior shots were filmed in Italy.
okay, okay. So
Yeah,
that's kind of what I was figuring. Yeah,
the gas chamber scene was filmed on location in San Quentin as well. So
that's cool. That's
that's
cool
the
that
only
Sam Quentin let some
interior.
Italian production come in. It's like, can we film a gas station? Just go for
Yeah, just like sure, you give us money, okay, yeah, go ahead.
it.
I do also like that this film has an alternative title, which is called Perversion Story.
Yeah.
Um, that's a great title because I don't really understand the one on top of the other. I guess only really makes sense once you see that one scene when the twist is revealed. That's the only part that kind of really makes sense for one on top of the other.
But
Uh,
in Italian, it's probably like a perversion story or like the
oh,
Italian.
that's actually
Yeah.
that's a great thing. So let me see. So the Italian
I
title
don't
is
know
Una
which
sull'altra.
yeah, I don't know what una sologia means. I guess we could look it
Which
up.
the English title translates accurately, but without expressing twice the feminine. So one on top of the other is essentially the the um translation from the Italian.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so there you go.
I was thinking it would actually be perversion story because that would just make more sense. And
I
one on
think
top of the other would be like an American distributor, like nobody's gonna go see it if we call it that. So let's just call it something else.
yeah,
I
no,
would have
apparently.
been if you look at the AKAs in Argentina, it was called the History of Perversion. That would have been super disappointing if you went to go watch this, if you were going to go see a movie called The History of Perversion.
Oh yeah, like wait, this isn't a documentary.
Um,
So Chris, what did you think?
it is the 8,435th best horror film of all time. It's
Jesus.
This made
not,
it on there. Okay, interesting.
yeah, and it did not make they shoot pictures. I don't know. I joke a lot on the Vinegar Syndrome Discord that like my taste is so screwed up at this point. I don't know. Like I thought this movie was fun. And I 100% saw the Vertigo effects, the Vertigo like impact there because just visually this movie is like obviously they were trying to remake Vertigo on some level. Um and I think that this one also had, although the plot was different, they also had some similar elements to the plot. I think it was the most direct because yeah, we'll get to the De Palma one in a second, but I think this was the most direct, like, okay, let's tweak Vertigo as opposed to really making it something their own. Um, but
Like to an extent, it's almost like a softcore porn parody of Vertigo.
Honestly,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, that's probably a good descriptor, honestly.
yeah, nailed it. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's an easy watch. This one and the next movie we're gonna watch are both short. I watched the 98-minute cut. I think there's a longer cut of this.
Oh, really? I
But the
thought
one
was there?
on Prime was 98 minutes.
Oh, I
Yeah,
wonder
Um,
which one it was.
there's one that I don't think it has like if you heard any Italian and it no English in a scene, apparently that's the longer cut. But
Oh,
I didn't see it either.
I don't even
yeah.
remember if I watched it in English or Italian. Is that bad?
No,
No, that sounds
it,
right for a Jolly fan.
yeah.
It's been like
It's
2 weeks
like,
since I've
it could
seen
have went
this.
either way.
I
There's
remember
all the
very
audio was
little
recorded
apart
in
from
Preston.
the breasts. Um,
No, but like the breasts are the point of this, right? Like,
yeah, to that is kind of true. They are like ultimately it's yeah, it's like I said, it's kind of like a softcore version of Vertigo. It's there to make money. Um, I do appreciate, I guess I suppose I don't know what the cinematic landscape was like in 1969, which is a nice year for this to have been made.
Nice.
Um, yeah, very apt. I don't know what the cinematic landscape was like in 1969 for doing this. I suppose nowadays, Vertigo is seen as this huge kind of pantheon of cinema. It's considered one of the best films ever made by critics, blah blah blah. So the idea of people kind of using it and reusing it now is sort of like an artistic thing. It's like, oh, okay, that like for example, like David Lynch uses a lot of Vertigo in a lot of his stuff. You know,
Yeah,
Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway, even Twin Peaks. There's so much Vertigo in Twin Peaks, even with character names and stuff like that. Um, you know, one of the main characters in season one of Twin Peaks is called Madeline Ferguson, which is just an amalgamation of Kim Novak's character and Jimmy Stewart's character. So you know, there's a lot of Vertigo in David Lynch's movies, for example. Um, and obviously, we'll, you know, stuff like Decision to Leave that we'll talk about later, and Obsession to a degree, where you know, we look at, you know, these references as being very kind of, you know, just like there's like an artistic merit to it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Um, Whereas I don't know if the cinematic landscape was in the same way. So for me, it's kind of cool that, you know, they would try and make this sleazy version of Vertigo. And like, I'd wonder if, like, at the times, like, general audiences were kind of looking at this as a sleazy version of Vertigo, or if this was just a, you know, a trashy film and nobody kind of really put that together. I can't really, I wasn't able to find any kind of like contemporary sources to kind of say what the consensus was about, you know, the actual film's existence in terms of its connection to Vertigo. But I do find it interesting that they would take something that I would call very artistic and very highbrow cinema and kind of make this trashy version of it. It's just it's you know, it's kind of like when someone makes a porn parody of 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's like it's just such a weird combination that like you know, someone involved in trashy filmmaking. I'm not saying Fulci's a trashy filmmaker per se, although a lot of his films are trashy, but he does have his artistic merits, and I'm not gonna say he's a bad filmmaker, of course. Um, but I just find it funny that we have these two worlds kind of clashing, this kind of slashery, giallo, softcore porn merged with a film that I personally consider, you know, the kind of peak cinema. So I just find the concept of the film's existence quite funny.
It kind of has that, you know, it's kind of like The Godfather, like when you go from book to movie. Like there, it's almost like there is just kind of like this thin line between lowbrow and highbrow, because like something like the book The Godfather is kind of pulpy and kind of trashy because of some of the weird shit in it. And then the movie obviously is in the same thing you're talking about, Vertigo, considered one of the best of all time, done this. So it does kind of bring up how thin that line can be between highly artistic and trashy fun.
yeah, it's also probably worth calling out. I fully agree with what you said, Zach. It's an interesting line, but this is like this is an interesting time in Fulci's career. So, like, if you look at the movies he was making right before this, he wasn't into horror yet, right? Like, he was making westerns and he was making comedies and he was making like adventure movies. He made a Bond spoof called 002, Operation Moon. Um, like, you know, like he's somebody that was really respected as a director, and the studios knew they could trust him, right? I mean, he was making movies for Italians, not for the international audience yet. At this point in his career, because this is early. Like a lot of people consider his most artistic kind of achievement to come out the same year as this, which is Beatrice Cenci, or Beatrice Cenci, which it's also called The Conspiracy of Torture. Um, and like a lot of people put that as like the hardcore Fulci fans will put that in their top three, and just like they really, it's like a movie that's kind of, you know, spoken of as his best. It's good. I mean, it's dark. It's like a historical epic sort of, but kind of like more Game of Thrones made by Fulci than, you know, a typical historical epic. Um, and then after that, he starts with a lizard in a woman's skin 2 years later. So this is like an interesting transition point from him as well, where I think he was kind of seen as like an art house director almost, or at least somebody who could, maybe not an art house director, but at least somebody who could really like handle a script, and you know, was getting paid by the studios to make these. So it'd be interesting to know, you know, if there's a release of this out there, like like a Severin type release or something. It'd be interesting to see if there's a commentary, because I'd love to know if this was like a passion project for him, or if he was brought in to make it, because this is right in that transition for him when he was before he made like his movies.
I was actually gonna look and see if there was a Blu-ray that was put out. I doubt it,
There
but
is
I
Mondo
think so.
Macabro.
Oh, there's an
oh, they
early
put one out. Okay.
DVD. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So
My
Mondo,
bad.
considering your other podcast, Chris, that's not great.
They they have a bunch of DVDs I have not tapped into, to be fair. So yes, that's right.
He's
They're
like, but all my
they've been around for
Blu-rays have a red case on them. Do not worry.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they've been around for so long, man. They've been putting out movies for like almost 30 years. But yes, anyways, that just thought I'd call that out. Like, I don't know that I certainly don't think in Italy people would have called him like a trashy director, because nobody would have seen Don't Torture a Duckling yet, or like
And that's always the weird thing with him. It's kind of going back to like what Adam's saying. Even like when he goes to his trashiest, there's like a lot of artsiness to it. Like,
yeah, yeah,
when you go into like New York Ripper, which is probably my favorite from him, uh, really beautiful film, which you wouldn't expect from a killer he pulls the same thing from Don't Torture a Duckling, where the killer is doing a duck voice and is just tr killing women horribly and all this other stuff. It's a very similar film, but yeah, it's like really beautifully shot and it looks great, and it's like, oh, okay.
no, totally. Yeah, I think
Yeah, like I think after four films now from Fulci, like he's someone where I think I know what I need to know about him to kind of say I don't love him, but
But you get the
there's
vibe.
still I definitely get the vibe and I get why people like there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of Giallo films, like there's a lot of Giallo that I really like, mainly Bava and some Argento. And then there's others that I watched and I'm like, this is just shit.
Are you a
Uh,
Martino fan? I can't remember. Did you like Martino? Like
which
Sergio?
what has he made again? I've definitely
All the
watched.
Colors in the Dark is probably one of his most famous.
I kind of liked that one. That was kind of middle for me. Did
Okay.
he do Torso as well? I can't remember if that was
Um,
him who did
I just
Torso.
recently watched that too. I don't think so. I think that's somebody else.
Was that? Let me look at. Was that
Torso.
Corbucci?
I think that is Corbucci.
1970. There was a Torso. 1973. No, that is Martino.
Oh, okay. I was
Um,
wrong then. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Then
Torso
Torso is his
was
most
kind of
famous.
that was kind of a vibe. That's very slashery. That's kind of
Yeah.
like the closest to like a like you get to like an American slasher
Yeah, it's
in
kind
a
of like the
Giallo format.
precursor to Pieces. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of Giallo that's kind of middle of the ground. There's a lot of it that I don't really like, and then there's some of it that I do like. I think I'm not ready to make a full like I'm not ready to kind of sit there and say I don't like Fulci. I'll probably never watch any more of his films because there is a couple of more films that I want to watch. Lizard in a Woman's Skin is definitely the kind of main one I still want to see. There is a few others that I could watch, like Zombie, for example. I've never seen Zombie.
Zombie's fun. I mean, it's just a fun time. You get to see a zombie fight a shark, a real shark. So, I mean, that's cool.
Okay, well
Like,
now it's going to the top of my watch
yeah,
list.
there you go.
Nobody told me about that. That's important information.
That's how I sell it to
Um,
everybody. Like, you want to see somebody fight a real shark? Zombie 2.
okay. Well, thanks. That there we go. So I'm definitely not ready to give up on Fulci because now I need to go watch a zombie fight a shark. But yeah, I think
yeah.
in terms of his more kind of supernatural, like I probably wouldn't watch. Like I know The Psychic is another one, kind of like a supernatural film that I probably wouldn't watch because, like The Beyond and City of the Living Dead, they're fine, but they're not enough happens in the film for me to actually care about it. They're more aesthetic pieces than actual films for me.
Um, it's interesting on an episode of Vertigo where I kind of broke y'all's heart that you're just sitting here casually breaking my heart. I think it feels intentional, but I can allow it given the fact of some of the hot takes I've had. No, I think that there in the people there's a community of people that are like don't really know Fulci that well, or maybe have seen a few movies like you're saying, and then there's a community of people that are like obsessed with Fulci, right? And I think that I'm probably closer to the obsessed camp. I like his style a lot, but this is we don't have to make this a Fulci episode, but um, I can. I mean, it's fine if you don't like him, of course, whatever. But I do think he's pretty artistic, and I think that the more you see from him, you actually get to see his skill. It's not like it's different from Bava, right? Because Bava was like a visual artist who happened to make some movies. But like his movies are always so beautiful and interesting, and like the way that he builds sets and stuff. Um, Fulci's a little, he's more dark. Like he's willing to go to more dark places in the psyche, and like he likes to show gore more for sure, and some of that kind of stuff. But I don't know, man. I love him. I love him.
Well, I think that's that's a big difference. Like you talk about, I'll just use this as an example. Like you talk about something like Terrifier, where the point is like the gore, the kills and things like that, and that's fine. I like one of the Terrifier movies, not most of them, but I like one of them. But usually when you think of like a more artsy direction, when you think of somebody like Bava or somebody like that, you don't really think about them kind of going there. Like how far can I go? How far can I take this? Because that's usually left in the realm of people who focus on that. So I think that's what makes Fulci kind of interesting is he still wants to make films that feel like films, and he still wants to do that. But he's like, I don't mind like gutting people. That sounds like fun.
No, totally. And I think it's interesting that Fulci's was like a fairly devout Catholic most of his life.
Oh, so he
Um,
was just getting out some like guilt repression or something through his films.
yeah, exactly. I will say it's interesting. So I think this movie probably was this okay. This had one, two, three, four, five, six, seven writers. Six or
Jesus
well, six
Christ.
writers.
It takes
Yeah.
6 writers to rip off Vertigo.
Yeah.
Hitchcock should be proud. Actually, who even wrote Vertigo? I don't even know who wrote it.
It wasn't
I assumed
Hitchcock.
Adam would know.
Hitchcock didn't write the
Yeah, that's
majority
right.
of
That's why I
it.
was like, who did
No,
write it?
no, it was written by a pair of screenwriters, and then it was based off a French novel. So yeah,
Oh,
I
I
don't
didn't.
remember the writer's names, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay, fair enough, fair enough. I was just after I said it, I was like, wait, I don't think Hitchcock wrote anything.
no, he didn't really write a lot. Most of his stuff was either it was adapted from novels and then sort of the scripts were written by other people. He wasn't big on writing.
So I do want to quickly shout out to Riz Ortolani, who's the composer for this movie.
What a fucking
Um,
great name.
oh yeah, especially with the way the kids are using it now. Yeah, the Riz Master. Or, but he's somebody that not that this carries as much weight as it did 15 years ago, but he's somebody that Tarantino really obsessed with, and he put him in at least one or two of his movies. He asked him to write a song for Kill Bill and or write a piece for Kill
Wait,
Bill, and
so
I think
so he Kill Bill has an original score in it. I just actually just thought he was still in spaghetti western and samurai scores the whole time.
no,
Yeah,
he brought Riz in back in the Riz Master back
Interesting.
then.
that's
Okay,
very
because I just
interesting.
always remember the Death Rides a Horse
Sure,
theme is in Kill Bill Volume 1. So that's
I'm
interesting. I
sure.
actually didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be a Tarantino music expert, so it's possible he just like used his music and gave him credit. I don't know, but he's there anyways.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably more likely. Like the amount of times I've watched an old film and I'm like, well, shit, this was an ex Tarantino film.
No, it's totally.
Which I mean, isn't the worst thing because I watched Death Rides a Horse solely because of that scene in Kill Bill Volume 1.
To be
Yeah.
fair to El Quinton, he does drive people to watch older films just by, referencing newer films.
Oh yeah.
So can't shit on him too much.
No. Yeah, I don't know if there's too much else to say about this one. I mean, I think I'm so happy that we're watching more Fulci. Knowing that you're neutral on him, I need to do a triple feature of some Fulci stuff.
Just
Um,
remember Adam. Just remember what Adam likes. Don't don't pull like the most wild shit out of
I
here.
make no promises on that,
It's gonna be
Zach.
Zombie 3, Devil Honey, and like Manhattan Baby, and it's like those are
Exactly.
three Fulci.
Exactly.
Well, look, to be fair, he just has to. I name dropped at least two Fulci films that I'm wanting to watch. So if he
Yeah,
doesn't pick those, it's on him.
if I don't
That's
like him.
true.
I've given him the breadcrumbs that he
No,
needs.
I think I want to do I think I want to do a full cheese spaghetti Western week, but we'll see.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Like For the Apocalypse is really good.
Yeah, hell yeah. Anyways,
Wh-
we'll see. What were you saying?
I was actually because I just was looking at that one and I noticed it was in black and white. Did you guys think this movie was going to be in black and white because of like the letterbox banner?
No.
See, I did. I actually thought the movie was because the letterbox banner's in black and white. I was like, oh, it's a black and white Fulci film. I haven't seen that one of those besides one other. So I was like, that's cool. And then I watched the movie. I'm like, wait, this isn't in black and white.
No, I don't check Letterbox first. I just kind of roll in and let the movie happen to me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but this is I do not if we're gonna track, I like Vertigo better than this. Let me say it that way. Although I had fun with this movie.
Okay, that's progress. We're making progress here.
Yeah, that's something. We move on to the next film.
So let's get some Brian De Palma in here. Probably the Hitchcock #1 fan. I think it's
Yeah,
safe
and
to say.
it's funny actually because I remember now I was looking when I was doing my any other business, I was looking at my diary, which is how I normally remember what I watched, and I realized I've only just remembered that I did watch another Brian De Palma film and I just forgot to log it.
Dress to Kill, right?
Yeah, I saw Dress to Kill. I
I
just forgot to log it.
I
Um,
was so I wanted to comment because the first thing you said is like, Michael Caine isn't doing shit in this movie, and I was about to comment, so I was like, no, 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 he will get to it. I'm just not gonna say anything. Let him get to it, and then later you're like, oh, never mind, I get it.
yeah, yeah, his character's motivations make a lot more sense when you get to the end of the movie. I was watching it going, he's terrible therapist. He's awful at his job.
He's worse than that therapist in Friday 13th Part 7.
Oh
He might be
Jesus.
actually.
I don't even remember what one is that?
That's the
What?
Carrie one where the
Oh
therapist like
yeah, where
yeah.
he's just like he's just like, do your fucking psychic powers, do it fucking now. He's terrible. That's a great film though. New Blood is awesome. Um, anyway, sorry,
What's
Obsession.
up? Yeah, so Obsession. This might I should have looked. This might be his first Hitchcock riff, or it's a very early one at least. A bizarre story of love. A wealthy New Orleans businessman becomes obsessed with a young woman who resembles his late wife. Once again, great description that undersells it completely. So I like it.
Mhm.
So Chris, we'll start with you this time.
I just want to make sure that I'm not crazy here. This was, although obviously the Vertigo influences are there, of course, but like this is as much a Rebecca ripoff as a Vertigo one, right?
Yeah, if he can fit a Hitchcock movie in there, he absolutely will.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah,
I think that's his whole objective in every one of these.
he
Okay.
does. There is films where he like doubles up, like Body Double, for example, pun not intended, is both Vertigo and Rear Window. So
Yeah.
this definitely has some Rebecca vibes, especially once the kind of double is revealed. So like once you meet the doppelganger and they start having their relationship build, that's when the Rebecca vibes kick in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but the main
Like,
kind of body of the plot is Vertigo, and that it's, someone he loves dies, and then he meets someone who looks exactly like them, and he becomes obsessed with them. That's Vertigo, basically. So
no, totally. But I mean, even Rebecca has a little bit of that, right? I mean, anyways, I'm not trying to make the argument it's more Rebecca. There's a scene like kind of somewhere near the middle of the film, near middle end of the film, where she's staring at a portrait of the previous wife. And I was like, whoa, it's very similar to Rebecca.
yeah, and even like the locked bedroom and stuff like
Yeah,
that as well. So yeah, I definitely
yeah,
won't
yeah.
argue with you. There's a lot of Rebecca in here as well.
Okay. Okay, cool. Anyways,
I didn't
yeah.
even realize till now I could have chose Body Double, but yeah, yeah. I just my mind immediately went to Obsession.
Yeah, I think Obsession. Well, I think Obsession is kind of closer anyway, to be honest, because you have like so much as, and I don't mean to cut you off, Chris, 'cause I want to get your
No,
thoughts,
it's
but
okay.
like so much of like even just the visuals, the way that has that kind of gauzy look to
Yeah.
it. That's straight out of Vertigo. That kind of like really gauzy look to the camera, and even that Bernard Herrmann did the score for this film. Who
His
obviously
last one or his next to last one?
this was his last one. He actually died
Yeah.
before the film even came out. So
Such
yeah,
a great
this
score too.
Yeah, this was his last score. So like, it's Vertigo all over for me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the world puts this as the 3,774th best horror film. Uh, is there anything even worth calling out right around there? I mean,
Could
just
you do
really
me a favor
random.
when you get a check? Could you see if Vertigo is on that list?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm just like,
I'm very
'cause
curious.
I'm sure it is. It's the 1,152nd best horror film of all
that's
time.
honestly higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah, because I was like, I know that people put Psycho and Rear Window. Like, I know those are high and those make sense. But I was like, Vertigo, like, as liberal as I am, I don't know if I'd call that a horror film.
Yeah,
I
I'd be the
I
same.
have to the film right below Vertigo at 11:53 is Chud.
God.
Very similar movies.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. They Shoot Pictures likes this movie, but not doesn't love it. It's 3,573. Um,
Wait, is that the closest we've ever had zombies and, or did you say 1,000? Did you say
no, no,
1,000 or
no, they're
3,000?
very close. Yeah, they're both
Wow,
3,000s. Yeah, yeah.
that's interesting. Okay.
Um, but yeah, there's like up around it is like Eastern Promises and Monty Hellman movie called Road to Nowhere. And yeah, I mean, 3,000 still has great movies. It has the Motorcycle Diaries right there. Flash Gordon is right there. So, anyways, okay, but to get, I, I think it's easy for me to kind of make fun of De Palma before seeing his movies. It's like just the way that people speak about him casually online about being a Hitchcock ripoff and stuff. Like, I think the perception is that De Palma's not a good filmmaker if you're just coming at it from the outside, because all you hear about is like he's just a Hitchcock ripoff. But I don't know. I disagree. Like De Palma's a good filmmaker. I think he's just like he wears his influences on his sleeve, like fine. But I've never really seen a movie from him I don't like.
Oh, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I make fun of him for the Hitchcock stuff because it's so blatant, but
Yeah.
all of his Hitchcock movies are good. Like, they're
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever heard anyone call De Palma a bad filmmaker. Like Scarface is beloved.
And
Like
Carrie.
I don't particularly like Scarface, but it's beloved.
No, I just
Um,
mean like people don't talk
Carrie's
about the good
huge.
stuff as much, you know. It's like more fun to talk about the fact he's just a Hitchcock ripoff, I guess. I don't know. Like I
He had a quote one time where he talked about this, and I can't remember it verbatim, but it was something like, "When somebody's already done something so great, why wouldn't I just take that? Like, I
Like
can't do it better."
honestly, like if anything, he's just kind of like a less blatant version of Tarantino, and he was doing it a lot
Yeah, he's a cover
longer.
artist. Yeah, and I don't
Like
think there's anything wrong with that.
because even you take Blowout, for example, where it takes the essential premise of blow up, adds in some of the conversation, and then he sexes it up a bit. Like that's his bread and butter is taking something that exists, sexing it up a little bit, putting his own spin on things, usually adding some more violence and some more sex and kind of creating something new from a blueprint. But I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with that.
No.
Art in general, it's all a copy of a copy of a copy. It's about whether you can create something that is both um, that is also new and interesting, which I think De Palma does most of the time. I haven't seen any of his kind of like anything after the 80s I haven't seen, so I can't say if he still does that, but I know a lot of his more recent output is not very critically well received. But like this period in the 70s and the 80s where he was just knocking out banger after banger, these are all even if I don't particularly love all of them, they're all objectively good movies, even though they have their basis in other films, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think he plays as a cover artist, but at no point do I feel like it's a lesser version. It's just a different version.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just his own spin on it. That's it really. And that's the difference between uh, you know, kind of like cash grab copycat movies, where there's no actual artistic merit behind it. Whereas with De Palma, it feels like he's not trying to cash in on a trend or anything like that. He's
He just
just
really likes
paying,
the movie.
yeah, he's just paying homage to something that he loves and wants to kind of do his own version of that. And I think every artist is guilty in that in some respect. Like
Like
Yeah, we can talk about
outside,
that with Park, and when we get to the next movie, Park does that too, to a degree. Not as much of a degree, but he definitely
but like
does a.
even like outside of movies, like you hear it with music as well. You know, there's artists that you can pick up and they're so obviously influenced by another artist. But a lot of like depending on who they are, if they're good at what they do, then it can still be enjoyable as its own thing, even if the influence is very obvious. Um, so yeah, like again, I have no problem with the way that De Palma went about making his films in terms of taking aspects of films and sort of twisting them and adding his own thing. You know, if anything, the familiarity makes it easier to watch his movies. And you know,
Especially because he gets wild with how he like. We'll talk about with Obsession, but he kind of goes an extra step. So yeah, I think it like helps.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, I mean, he's like this is a good movie, and I think he has a couple of I don't really know what to call these. I'm sure there's a term, but I call them hero shots, where it's clear that like one of the ones is Barry Lyndon where they're all sitting around a table, and it's just it looks like a Victorian painting.
Yeah,
Mm.
He has a couple of shots like that in this movie where it's clear he just spent so much time getting the set design like perfect and the camera angle perfect and everything, lighting perfect. So like, I don't know, like he seems like somebody who's like a film school nerd that makes technically really good movies, and then he just also likes genre films, and so like you know it goes a little darker with them. I like his movies. I think I've seen enough now to say I like him a lot. This is I wouldn't say it's my favorite De Palma, but it was a good one. I enjoyed it.
And like one thing that's kind of underrated in this film is the production design. You know, because the film takes place in what like the late 50s for
Mhm.
at
yeah,
least at the start anyway. And the way they have like kind of the old cars and then like the kind of like Louisiana kind of houses and stuff like that. The production design in this film is really cool. I thought it was good as well that he used a different setting to say like it wasn't like one on top of the other where it was in San Francisco. That would have been a kind of two on the nose. And so like having it take place somewhere very like different, like with it being like that kind of Louisiana, New Orleans plus the Italy stuff is an interesting way to go about, you know, doing a film like this, like to kind of take the base story but move it to a completely different location where it just has a different kind of a vibe and a different kind of an atmosphere. Because even though there is stuff that obviously takes place in the city, it doesn't feel like a big city film. It feels like much kind of
Mm.
smaller. Um, I think the only disappointing thing is that it would have been the Italy stuff. I wished it was more. I wish it was in Venice, but I just think that would have been just even just like a nicer setting. Like not that there's anything wrong with Florence or anything like that, but I think Venice has that even more kind of dreamier atmosphere, or maybe just because I'm influenced by Don't Look Now. Um, and I thought that would be an interesting pairing, but yeah, I did like the change in setting away from that kind of big city kind of San Francisco setting of Vertigo.
yeah. And I think he captures it pretty well. Like you talk about the time period, it kind of reminds me of probably why he was chosen to do the Untouchables, like because he can get that setting out like so quickly and very
Yeah.
efficiently, and I think Untouchables does that well as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. I love the of Florence stuff. Like, there's the bridge that he keeps walking over where I don't know if you noticed, but this in the background, there's like another bridge, and it has like a bunch of windows in it. And it's just like an odd shape of a bridge because it looks almost like there's shops on a bridge.
Yeah,
And that is like it's a cool part of the history of Florence. Like that's a very like if you go anybody that spends one day in Florence, like that's a part of the tour. And it's like there's gold that's sold all along that bridge. And it's like historically a very famous place where people used to go for gold and stuff. So it's like I don't know, like it's a little bit of like a love letter to the city, I think, in some ways. Um, and then the way that they run around the hallways and like the narrow alleyways and stuff too. It just felt like kind of brought me back there because I've been there twice, and I love this city. And so I don't know, like it kind of, I like those scenes a lot. To be honest, I mean, Venice is always fun on film because you've got the canals and everything. but I don't know. I love the Florence part personally, just because of the personal connection. Are we gonna talk about John Lithgow at some point?
Oh, absolutely.
Of
But I
course.
did want to point out
Yeah.
how this movie was sold to me because Adam, you had seen this before we
Yeah.
had done it, and I kept watching the movie, and I was just like, because you kept saying this movie is so bonkers, and I was sitting there, I was like an hour and 20 minutes in, and I was like, this movie's good, and I mean, it's a little weird, but I have no idea what the fuck Adam's talking about, and then it happens in the last 20 minutes, and I'm like, oh, 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 and I was like, Jesus Christ. Because I was sitting there, I was like, "What is it?" I was like, Adam doesn't think very much of me for watching weird stuff. I was like, "This is fairly normal for me," until the end, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I got you. I understand."
No, if anything, this is kind of much more up Chris's alley in terms of like the kind of films he watches from Vinegar Syndrome, Taboo and whatnot. Uh, from a twist perspective, can we talk about the twist? I'm sorry, but like, can we talk about it? I think we have to.
Spoiler alert.
Yes, yes. Spoiler. Yeah, go skip ahead and
Please,
watch it because it's fun. It's a
yeah,
fun twist.
please skip ahead because it's fucking bananas. Did not see it coming at all whatsoever. And I was talking to Zach about this yesterday. We were just kind of talking about it briefly, and it's funny watching it the second time because the twist is actually telegraphed a lot more than you would think. When I first saw it, I thought this is so out of pocket. Like, where did this come from? But it is actually telegraphed a little bit in the during the film. Um, so obviously we find out. So obviously the essential. I don't think we actually got too deep into the kind of semantics of the plot, except for the very basics. But obviously at the very start of the film, the main character, his family, his wife and daughter get kidnapped. It appears the family dies part of a botched rescue, and then that's when we have the time jump and everything like that, and he meets the woman who looks like his dead wife. Um, in an interesting twist on the Vertigo kind of sort of what's the word I'm trying to think of, template, where it usually is the wife, but disguised or whatever. It's not his wife. It is unfortunately his daughter, who is now grown up, and that's why she looks like the wife, which is insane, completely out of pocket. But it's funny because like I said, there is foreshadowing to it. Like the haircut that she has as an adult is the exact same as the child actress. It's the exact same haircut that they have. And then but the biggest giveaway that I found was very early in the film when Court and the love interest, I can't remember her name, her kind of fake
Elizabeth
Italian
Bay.
name. Sandra is the
Sandra,
fake
yeah, yeah.
Italian name.
Oh, oh, oh,
Yeah, where Court and Sandra kind of meet each other and they're talking about their lives and stuff like that and their backstories. And Sandra says, "Our story," this is paraphrasing, I don't remember the exact line, but she says, "Our story is that of a forgotten daughter and a lonely husband." Which is makes so much
oh.
more sense once you know the twist.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah. Um, and another thing I thought was hilarious that I wanted to talk about, which obviously I'll let you guys get your thoughts on the twist in, but it was just so ironic that you chose this film, Zach, to pair with a Park Chan-wook film. Uh, due to the obvious old boy connections, which I don't think everyone kind of knows the twist in Old Boy now. I don't think we really need to put out a spoiler warning for that too much, but I just thought it was so funny that you paired this with a Park Chan-wook film just because of the Old Boy connection as well.
What is it about liking Hitchcock that makes you want to like make movies about a father-daughter relationship?
Yeah, I don't know. It's because the closest thing you ever get to that in Hitchcock is really like the uncle niece thing in Shadow of a Doubt. So I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, that does happen in Shadow of a Doubt, doesn't it? I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's not
I
not
mean, what
near as
about,
explicit.
but if you flip it, it kind of happens in Psycho, right?
Kind of,
I guess
yeah.
there is that sexuality thing to it. They just where it's 1960, I guess they're not like delving deep into that yet because that's more of a sequels thing,
Yeah.
like
Well,
Psycho
what's
3.
yeah, not so not so much about the sex, but just like the bastardized love of a mother or father or something. Like,
Yeah.
because this one, don't they even specifically say that they never like consummate the marriage?
So
Like,
yeah, this is an
there's just
interesting point. So and just yeah, so basically from what I was reading, so there's there's a scene in this film where it's like showing them like getting married and whatever, um, and it has that kind of shimmery dream. Basically, kind of say it's a dream, that it didn't actually happen, but they shot it and it's in the script that it did actually happen, and it was only when they were actually in post they kind of said we can't fucking do this. We can't have them actually do this. Let's add a shimmery dream effect, and it will look like a dream, and we'll get away with it that way.
Well, he still
Uh,
like plants a huge kiss on her, like when she gets out of the car at one point. Like, I mean, Jesus.
yeah, I don't think there's a way around of getting around the
They said
weirdness,
if we can do it in
regardless.
Star Wars, we can do it here.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Despite the fact that this came out how many years? Well, before it came out 4 years, well, 5 years before Empire Strikes Back, but that's here nor there. Um, but sorry, did we skip over the John Lithgow discussion here?
Oh, we're getting there. I figured we were gonna. There was a lot to talk about with Lithgow.
Yeah. So, do you guys any thoughts on the twist before we get into the Lithgow
Um,
stuff? Or
it's just that it's just a wild. I did. I think I told you, Adam. I almost wish, and as bad as this makes me sound, I wish at the end they had just like really committed to it and just like made you just fucking hate yourself. Like because they do like the fatherly daughterly hug, but then they start looking at each other. I'm like, oh, just commit. This is bonkers. Just do it. And then they just, like cut it right before then.
No, I'm like the 70s is a really interesting time for incest because there's a lot of stuff coming out that the porn world is the more obvious place to go with this, but like even in Hollywood films, there's a lot. Vinegar Syndrome is putting out a lot of stuff that has like incest as a theme. Um, it's interesting to see how much it was around, especially in, well, I said Hollywood, but especially in Hollywood and then Italian movies too. Um, I don't know this obsession with the parent. It's interesting that that's like Freud would have a field day with that, right? So I don't know if it's people trying to kind of play on that or if it's just, people having interest in their parents and trying to get it out through writing. I don't know. Um,
Like
but
the balls to make the movie, because of course you come with that assumption. I think most people would. It's like, dude, what is your relationship like with your parent or your children? Like, please, why did you do this?
I suppose we have to remember on that front that this was written by Paul Schrader. Um,
With hardcore, all that makes more sense too. So
yeah, so like this is not a we can't blame this all on De Palma here.
no,
Schrader did write the screenplay for this, so a lot of it's on him.
yeah, and was this same year as Taxi Driver? It's a big year for Schrader.
This was 76. I don't know when Taxi Driver came out, to be honest.
It was right around
Oh
that
yeah,
time.
76. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
uh, Herman is also uh the composer for that as well, I believe.
Oh, that would be
Yeah,
first.
so
I don't even remember when I last saw. I've seen Taxi Driver once, and I would say it's easily 10 years ago.
yeah.
Music by Bernard Herrmann. Yeah, you're 100% correct.
So that's interesting. Herman went out on kind of some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about Lithgow because this is the first time he played with De Palma. I think they played together 3 times. So
Okay, because yeah, I was trying to. It was obviously this Below Out, and what's the other one?
Raising Cain.
Raising. I haven't seen that one. I don't
That's
even.
you want to talk about a wild ending. That's a good one too. Watch that one. It's fun.
Okay. I think I might have. I think I might have added it to my watch list when I was kind of going through De Palma on Letterbox at some point, but I'll just double check just to make sure it's on there.
It's the first time he lets Lithgow be the lead, so that's kind of
Okay,
worth it just for that because Lithgow's the main character in that.
cool. Yeah, I've added it to my watch list now, so I'll get around to it at some point.
But yeah,
Yeah,
our future Dumbledore here. Let's
yeah, yeah. Let's great in this. He's great in everything. He's just a great actor, but he's really good in this as well. Because like especially with the way he has that kind of that heel turn as well, where I didn't obviously I knew nothing going into the film originally, so I was like watching this going, oh okay, yeah, he seems like a pretty decent dude.
Yeah, and I was thinking
Uh,
the same thing. Like Lithgow playing kind of a nice guy. Like that's kind of nice.
yeah, and I love his Louisiana accent as well. Come on now, Quat. Come on, Quat. The way he says
At least
Quat.
he put one on. Fucking Cliff Robertson didn't do shit. He's like, no.
Cliff Robinson was there for the check and nothing else.
Yeah, apparently he was like really hard to work with on this film.
Yeah, and I read some reviews like praising him, and I'm like, we watch the same. Like this dude does nothing. He's like the most like just bland. I don't even know if I've seen him in anything else, to be honest.
Spider-Man.
Oh shit, he's Uncle
He's Uncle
Ben.
Ben. Yeah.
As soon as you said it, I'm like, now I know why I recognize his face. Um, he dies good. Um,
Best acting he ever did was dying.
yeah. I'm just having a peek through. Oh, Underworld USA. I've seen that. That's
I mean,
uh
I don't think he's bad in this. But he is a bit
he's
lifeless.
just
Yeah.
boring though. Yeah, it's just like
Yeah, it's like every time
bland.
he's with Lithgow, it's like, oh, this guy's way better than Robertson.
Yeah.
Which is
I
maybe
That's so
not
hard
fair,
though.
but it's just like
Yeah.
he's killing it.
No, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like Lithgow's such a great, like I think Lithgow's one of these guys that really goes for it in almost every role he's ever been in. And he just seems to have a lot of fun as an actor. And I think it seems like he's having a lot of fun here.
It's one of the things, I don't know if you guys have seen Dexter, but it was one of my favorite things where he got to be the big villain in a season of Dexter, where
yeah.
he got praised like so, and it's very much deserved. And it's like it's kind of nice that he kind of got his time in the sun because I think at that point he was people knew who he was, people appreciated him, but I think that's when he got more into the public spotlight, and I think it was good for him.
Well, yeah, because of his TV background, I think a lot of people don't realize some of the crazy movies he's been a part of. Um,
He'll
And he's
always
Lord
but
be
Farquaad.
like,
well, Lord Farquaad. He'll always be the guy who hates dancing in
Yeah.
Footloose.
Oh yeah, he is in Footloose, isn't he? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. I
he's
haven't seen
like
Footloose in a long time.
he's the antagonist, I guess, of Footloose because he fucking hates dancing. Don't dance near him, or he'll lose his fucking shit. Um, Footloose is good. I like Footloose.
And it's cool that he does this and then 5 years later he plays in Blowout where it's still just such a fun character. Like he's a much smaller part in Blowout to a
Yeah,
degree, but he's so fun in Blowout.
yeah,
but it's a good
God,
movie.
he's been in so many movies. I'm just scrolling through. It's crazy. He's just such a like a what's the word? Like a time clock actor, you know? Like he just goes and punches his time clock and gets to work.
Yeah, I
Um,
wonder. I just hope he'll last for like however many seasons of Harry Potter there's gonna be.
Yeah, because
oh,
I would like there to be a Dumbledore that makes it to beginning to end.
Yeah.
oh wait, I thought y'all were joking. What's he
No,
doing?
he's
Harry
he
Potter?
No,
no, he's gonna be he's gonna be Dumbledore in the TV series on HBO
Wait, sorry. So go back one step. Why are they making a Harry Potter series on HBO?
because
because
money.
it'll print money.
Yeah, I don't. But are they just telling the same story again?
Yes, but by printing money.
I don't think it's gonna
They're
do
gonna
well.
do each season is gonna cover one book.
I
Yeah, and
don't
it's
think.
good. And the only thing this I'm gonna make this tangent quick. The first two are gonna be probably like not rough seasons, but like the first two movies cover the first two books really well. So it's like, what the hell are you gonna add? Like,
Yeah, it
they
makes
don't
more
cut that
sense for
much
the
out.
later as the books go on and get bigger, it does make sense to have it as TV. But yeah, like the Philosopher's Stone is really short. I think it's only like 200 pages. It's a
Yeah, and
short
they only
book.
cut out like one chapter, and it's the worst chapter in the book. So it's like, what are you gonna do?
But we'll
Like,
finally get our Goblin Revolution, our House Elf Revolution. That's all
oh, we're gonna get spew.
that's all the people want is the House
Is
Elf Revolution, you know?
Oh, wonderful. But yeah, yeah, seriously, yeah. They casted John Lithgow and it's gonna be wild because they're already complaining it's an American. But I'm like, you picked a guy obviously who can do accents, so it's fine. Like we
Yeah,
just heard him do a Louisiana accent, so
I
it's
thought it
fine.
was weird as well, but then Neve informed me that he's really good in The Crown as uh one of the royals. So he's used to playing sort of that kind of old Brit. Because he was in The Crown apparently, and he was very good in it. So um, I was confused also until I Neva told me that. I've never seen The Crown. I don't really care about the royal family or anything, but
No.
um, yeah, that's so apparently he's good in that. They haven't cast too many others yet.
Nick Frost is Hagrid. I think they've basically confirmed that, which is
Yeah, I saw that he
interesting.
was. Yeah, I think that's a good pick for Hagrid.
I
Uh,
don't know, man. Like, this is the okay. Like, I know J.K. Rowling stuff aside for a second, but like, if you just compare the book and the movie, the first movie nails it. Like, nails the casting, nails the tone, like.
Columbus does not get enough credit for what he did. Like people bring up the third movie a lot, but honestly, like I think he's the second best director in the series with how good he created that world.
so
Yeah, I don't know.
not to jump in, but Neve has intercut me because she's in the office next door. John Lithgow played Winston Churchill in The Crown. So
That's
there you go.
that's a fantastic casting. So I that's awesome. I can actually see that.
Dude, he's knocking out all the like most iconic British roles. He's playing Professor Dumbledore and Winston Churchill. The British actors are so pissed.
Well, and you know what? They can't say anything because we haven't had a British Dumbledore except for Jude Law anyway. So Gambon and Harris are not English.
Oh,
Thank you,
really?
Zach. Thank you very much. You are
See,
welcome
I
in
knew
Ireland
that.
anytime.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, bring on all the Americans. Just we need
Just
more
make it an
Americans.
American cast. Just piss everybody off.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Timothy
right,
Chalamet
should we
as
move
Harry
on to
Potter.
Park? Is it time?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So our final film, which is for once, I'm not just reading the uh same synopsis three times in a row. So that's good. The closer you look, the harder you fall. From a mountain peak in South Korea, a man plummets to his death. Did he jump or was he pushed? When Detective Hi June, whatever, arrives on the scene, he begins to suspect the dead man's wife, So Ray, but as he digs deeper into the investigation, he finds himself trapped in a web of deception and desire. So this is, I think, Parks. It's at least his second time into Hitchcock. So Adam, what did you think of this one? Because you haven't seen his other Hitchcock ripoff, right? Which
Yeah,
this
this
one isn't
is.
really,
I've
but
only
still.
seen two Park films, this and Handmaiden, which I believe are at this time of recording are his two most recent films.
Yeah,
I'd only.
Stoker he made before that. That's a Hitchcock thing too.
Oh yes, that's on my watch list. I think you mentioned that to me at some point, and it's on my watch list. That's
And I think
it's.
you pointed it out to me because I was sitting there and you were reading the synopsis, you're like, is this just Hitchcock? I was like, oh yeah, it is.
I think it's Shadow of a Doubt, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Shadow of a Doubt. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So yeah, it's on my watch. I need to get around to it. I should have watched it in prep for this really. But yeah. Anyway, beside the point. I saw this when it originally came out. This was a movie release, at least over here. I think it might have been a movie release for you guys as well. Um, but I remember I first heard about it because the other Zach from our Discord saw it at the Toronto Film Festival and he wrote a review on it and it sounded really cool. So I looked out for it and when it dropped on Mubi, I watched it like day one, the day it dropped on Mubi, I watched it and I thought and it blew me away. I thought it was incredible. And I rewatched it again earlier this week just to refresh my memory on it a bit. Probably the least Vertigo-y film we're going to talk about. There's no doubles or anything like that in this, in the same way that there is in Vertigo. I think the connections are a bit more subtle. But speaking from an actual film point of view, I think this film is fantastic. Was my second favorite film of 2022. It did come out in 2022, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
My second favorite film of 2022. It's one of like my favorite films of the 2020s so far. Um, I just think it's so engaging. The plot is so interesting. The characters are so much depth. And even just like the way it's filmed, the editing and the camera work is it's just so engaging and cerebral. It does make me want to go. I feel like I can never go and watch all the Vengeance trilogy because like they're so hyped that I feel like I would just walk away disappointed. But I know at some point I should watch them. Um, but yeah, I love this film. I think it's incredible. So I'm really excited to hear what you guys thought of it. Because it's one that I've been kind of talking about since it came out. I even remember when we did our 2022 year end episode, and I talked about this one quite a bit because I'd only seen it. It came out in like November of that year. It was a kind of a late film. So yeah, I'm excited to hear what you guys think of it, to be honest, because I think it's incredible.
So in 3 years, where has it made it on the list at, Chris?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's. I hate to even bring up they shoot pictures because this movie deserves better, but it's currently sitting at 17,000, and I'm sure it will continue to rise. Um, it's interesting to see the kind of the trajectory of Park Chan-wook's career, because he got famous for obviously Old Boy, but even before that, he had a movie called Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and he's not shy at all to get into extremely fucked up territory. Um, and he even made a movie called he did a anthology with Takashi Miike called Three Extremes, where it's like three short films, and they're all really dark. But before he got into that, he made a movie called Joint Security Area, which kind of put him on the international map, and is a really interesting look into the whole like North and South Korea conflict. But he's such a talented director. Like even in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Old Boy, it's not just interesting plot. Um, he's just such a master at controlling the camera and I think using actors in a good way to where you immediately kind of understand what their motivations are and you kind of he builds a world like immediately. His vampire movie Thirst is amazing. Like it's this really interesting, cool take on the vampire mythology. Have you seen it by chance, Zach?
No, so it's actually been on my list forever, and the only reason I haven't watched it is because every time I'm like, I want a vampire movie, and I'm like, oh, I don't want a 2.5 hour vampire movie
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
So I end up watching something else, but I need to
My
watch
man.
yeah. The live by film unofficial tagline. But yeah, I've been obsessed with this guy ever since I saw Old Boy in theaters. And no, actually, I saw Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance in theaters. So that was 2002. So ever since then, I've been obsessed with this guy. And yeah, like this is the movie to me that is the least directly ripping off Vertigo. Um,
Mhm.
uh, I think I'd be curious to hear what y'all say in terms of the because I was even reading like some research into how is this a Vertigo ripoff, and the what people were writing, I was like, okay, fine, yeah, I get it. But I don't. I think it's coming off of one on top of the other in Obsession. It was like this is not as direct, I don't think. Um, it's more like an homage, I think, than as opposed to just a ripoff.
It apparently wasn't even like a purposeful homage. Like I think I saw something where Park said that Vertigo is just like something he loves so much that he didn't really realize it until later how much
Mm-mm,
he took from Vertigo.
mm-mm.
As far as like visual flair and stuff like that. Like the only scene where I think it really feels evident is the one where they're on the rooftop with when they're chasing that one guy.
True.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
definitely the most on the nose kind of thing. It was definitely again I did some reading on this as well. And yeah, that's what Park kind of said. It was unintentional, but looking back, he kind of sees where people were getting it from. Um, but apart from that rooftop scene, I think even the dynamic with the two characters, despite there not being that double aspect like in Vertigo and the other films we've talked about, I think the idea of a kind of fatalistic detective who becomes entangled with a dangerous and mysterious woman, I think is close enough to Vertigo, um, that I would still call this a kind of Vertigo adjacent film, even if it doesn't have the kind of main plot point of a doppelganger reappearing midway through the film like it has in all the ones we've talked about so far. That core kind of toxic relationship between the two main characters, which is for me that I think that's the most interesting part of Vertigo. It's less about the double stuff. It's more about this kind of the sickly nature of the main character's relationship and connection. That's the most interesting part of Vertigo for me, and I think that's a big part of Decision to Leave as well. You have this guy who, on the surface, should just be this regular, normal cop who, just for whatever reason, just gets driven bonkers by this mysterious woman.
especially because he has a wife who really loves him.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
she
And
really does.
she's kind of like the stand-in for the Midge character in Vertigo, even though they're not married in Vertigo or anything, they're just kind of friends and she's in love with him. she's kind of like that character in Vertigo as well, where it's like he could just have a nice, easy relationship, but he actively chooses the toxic option every time. And that happens in both of these films. So I think the connection to Vertigo is maybe a little bit deeper than what would appear initially on the surface, with the character dynamics. But yeah, it's definitely as not as on the nose as the last two films.
Yeah, and what was I going to say?
I mean,
Yeah, the thing I was really amazed about, because the rooftop scene obviously does it. So when they started doing the climb, I was really expecting them to lean hard into like the vertigo effect and stuff like that. And I was actually kind of proud that he didn't just like take that like really easy fruit, so to speak, like to do that. Especially because it turns out it may have just been unintentional completely anyway. But it was still kind of nice because I kind of was looking for it when they were doing that.
yeah, and I was just, I guess, adding on to some of what you're saying. I think this movie definitely focuses on obsession too. So in that way, it's,
Yeah, I
I,
guess you could say that she's the a doppelganger, even though she never claims to be someone different. Like she appears different to him in two
yeah,
halves of the movie.
yeah. No, I really think so. I mean, there's this, I don't know if it's like a moment, but as the movie progresses and you get to learn her more and more, it's, she's such a complicated character. Um, and I think they reveal that in a good way as it goes on. Like, as you there's always something mysterious about her, but then it just gets more and more dark as the movie goes on. Um, which is cool. And I really, really love the way they wrote the main character, the detective. I just like this is why I like Park Chan-wook so much. Like I, he uses humor a lot in kind of random ways. Like I think I found the detective to have some funny scenes, just like not like it was a comedy, but just sort of like a dark comedy. Like he just gets him. He's just so obsessive as a detective, and he has so many like quirks that it's sort of humorous. I think, or it's like kind of there's some levity in it. Um, and I think it plays well being able to go back and forth between the more like serious moments and then like the lighthearted stuff because it's like he comes off as a more like fully developed character, not just a typical like autistic detective that sometimes is portrayed. Um, but like he has like that whole like supernatural sense almost like when he walks into a scene he like switches into this different mode where he's like this master of figuring out exactly everything that happened and kind of replaying the scenario and all that, right? um
Yeah, it's almost like he can't look at that introspectively though. Like he can't see what's like what he's doing wrong or like what's
yeah,
going wrong with him, but he can see everything else just fine.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love it. I think this is probably my favorite of the three, and I would say I did like this more than Vertigo.
I think I can find that a fair. I like Vertigo better, but I can find that fair to say you like this better.
Yeah, like I won't complain. Like I think the films we've talked about have gotten progressively better in terms of their quality, for
I
me
agree. Yeah.
anyway. I
Mm.
think each film is kind of better than the last. Obviously, we're not even going to talk about the whole Vertigo stuff because we all know where I stand there. Just be a waste of everyone's time. Um, but um, this film, kind of even just away from the Vertigo stuff, if we just kind of take this film as its own separate piece, which that's what kind of Park, himself, what made meant when he made the film, because as he said himself, a lot of the stuff um with Vertigo was not intentional, or at least was kind of below the surface, kind of not a conscious decision. This film is phenomenal. The screenplay, the script, the direction, it's just such a masterpiece. Like you're saying, Chris, those scenes where he like, he's observing, from outside, and then suddenly he's in the room, kind of imagining what's going on in the room, just kind of based on his observations. Those are so well done. Um, the way that the characters like are developed, like the two main characters are so well written, but especially the female lead, her as the kind of film goes on and more layers start to get peeled back and you start to learn more information about her. It's just so masterfully done. The pacing is incredibly well done, and none of it feels like a cheap twist or anything like that. I feel like everything kind of just makes sense. Um, yeah, I think like again, just taking this film as its own away from comparing it to Vertigo or whatever. This film's phenomenal. It's like I said, there's a reason why I was so high on it when it came out,
Yeah.
and I'm glad it held up for me this time around. 'Cause, when you watch a film that has such, and especially a film like this that I think has an incredible ending. The ending broke me when I first saw it. I thought the ending was phenomenal. And sometimes I'm guilty of this a little bit where sometimes a film won't be super strong, but if it has
Yeah,
a really strong ending, I'll tend to overrate it, in my own brain. So I was a little bit worried that that would happen here as well, that because the ending was so good, maybe I was overrating it in my head. So I was so happy when it was actually really good. I'm like,
yeah.
thank God. I didn't overrate this just based on the ending because the ending is still phenomenal, but the rest of the film is so good as well. The whole thing just builds incredibly well.
I think that is one thing I will give all of these, and it's part of Vertigo too. Like that, the end is what kind of solidifies it. Like as good as it is. Like every one of these movies, I was like, yeah, these are good, and I really like them. And then by the end, I was like, okay, I get it more now. Like Obsession was a lot like that for me, and this one not as much to a degree because I really just enjoyed it from beginning to end. But I did think the end made the whole thing stronger by the end.
No, I totally agree. And I think the more I think about it, it's probably not fair to say that that the character of young Adrian is the main character. Really, this is a movie about song, like you said, Adam. It's really her film. Like she owns this completely, and the movie builds to that beautiful ending that you were talking about, Zach, and Adam, that you loved because of her. Really, like this falls on her shoulders, and I think she's written well. She pulls it off. She's believable when there's that line where she mentions the name of the film, and you get to see inside her mind of just sort of how fleeting she is in all these relationships she has with all of her different love interests, and like she pulls it off in a believable way. Like you really see like kind of a darker side to her. So, and then that just gets more and more as the film goes on. So, I think this is like her movie. Um,
Yeah, I agree with that because like you look towards like the end, and I'll try to be vaguish. The whole thing like Adam, you're talking about like being attracted to the toxic, mysterious woman. Well, you get kind of the toxic, mysterious end to it, and I think that's what made it tie up so well was because like he wanted that version of someone, and he got it in the kind of monkey paw sort of way,
right,
where
right,
like
right.
there's this permanent mystery to it now.
That's so great. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
because
have never thought of the
he'll
monkey.
always assume what happened, but a lot of it he doesn't actually have hard evidence for. He'll never be able to prove it. And without her, without even ever being able to know what happened, because he'll never know what even happened to her. He'll just like this is the kind of film where if it ran for another 10 minutes to have like an epilogue, I could see this character just being driven completely demented, by this not never knowing what happened to her. Having this kind of mystery there that he'll have to live with forever and never have any closure on. Just due to his level of kind of obsession with her and the cases that she was involved in. Um, so in a way, I'm always happy that Park had the restraint to kind of end it where it did, um, because it lets you try and imagine the fallout, which obviously can often be more interesting than having it shown on screen. Which is kind of similar to tie it back to Obsession. Um, we didn't get to talk about this, but I mentioned it to Zach when we were talking yesterday that in the script, the Paul Schrader script, there is an epilogue set 10 years later, and Brian De Palma cut it out, and Paul Schrader fucking hated him for it. Um, but yeah, De Palma said no, having an epilogue won't work. Let's just end it here. So I like that Park made the same decision just to kind of end it with this kind of, drop of the mic that that song has to kind of say, we kind of know what's happened, we know everything that's gone down, but the main character will never know what's gone down. Just let's let the audience have to sit with that. Um, because yeah, but like when I watched this the first time, I was just it was hit me like a gut punch. The end of this film. I don't know if it was the same for you guys, but the end of the film hit me super hard when I first watched it.
Yeah, and I think it's because I really didn't know where it was going. Like I think that's like the best thing about this is as it goes, you kind of get ideas like, okay, it could go here. And then at the end you're like, oh, okay. That's one way to do it. And it's a good way to do it. But yeah, it definitely hit harder than I expected it to.
So a lot of people, when he was kind of in the prime of his career, and maybe, I mean, you could argue he might still be in it, to be fair, but when he was the darling of Korean cinema, people would say that he makes his films like a composer makes a um, or concert or like an orchestra or whatever with this beautiful crescendo. And because most of his movies kind of have this, and I just don't know. I don't know in history if there's five people that do that better. Like he's not the only one that does it well, but like I can't imagine he's on a very short list. I think of people that can build and build, and you just patient with him, and he just pulls it off. Like he just knows how to end a movie. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think, when you talk about South Korean directors now, I mean, obviously Bong is the first one people mention. I would say I think Park is a better director. That's not to take anything away from Bong Joon-ho, but yeah, he does something. I think it's just because of a lot of the subject matter that he like delves into that sometimes he doesn't get like quite as much mainstream attention in for certain audiences, I should say. But I think that's why Decision to Leave may have hit with audiences pretty well from what I've seen. Obviously, I don't know anything about box office or anything like that, but it's been very well regarded, and it's probably one of his easiest films to watch because it doesn't like it still has like the crescendo element you're talking about, but it's not the ending of Old Boy or anything
right.
like that.
No, I mean, I think like Bong is a genre director, right? I mean,
Yeah.
his movies are fun as hell, but they're not like he's going for a different vibe, I think, right? Like Park Chan-wook makes I don't know, like he's an art house guy through and through, even when he goes dark with it. But yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot more I have to say on this film, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like that covers it fairly well. I think this movie's great. Wonderful, wonderful film. I'm so glad you asked us to include this in the list.
Well, Adam, any final thoughts for you?
No, I'm glad we watched it. Because like I said, I've been high on it for a long time, so I'm glad there was like an excuse for us to watch it together. I'm glad that you guys liked it as much as I did. Um, I'm glad we watched Obsession as well, just to kind of I just got to experience the same fucking bananas ending that I did. Um, yeah, this was fun. And obviously any excuse to kind of think about Vertigo is always good for me. I might have to try and think of a sequel that we can do down the line of more films inspired by Vertigo.
Heck
So,
yeah.
who wants to go through what we'll be watching next time?
Oh, definitely, Chris. This is his pick. This is his baby.
All right, fine. So, I don't know if I'm gonna be happy with this decision or if I'm gonna want to make a decision to leave. But we did our blockbuster summer last year. Um, and I had fun with it. I had a lot of fun with it, and y'all listened to a lot of them. They're all in some of the top listened episodes. So we figured we'd go back to the summer blockbuster thing, and it's a little bit early, but if Marvel can put out a smash hit in March and April, then so can we. Um, so I think we're for this year, we were going back and forth on a few different options, and I think we decided to do the Mission Impossible series because especially tying into the new Mission Impossible movie that's coming out this year. So we'll do, I don't know, should we break down the format like of each week or we just um
Yeah, I think it's worth doing it.
Yeah.
As the resident expert on the series, do you want me to break it down?
Yeah, please, because I'm gonna get it wrong. So
So yeah, we're gonna do cover it over 3 episodes. So it's gonna cover us for the next three. Probably gonna try and put out an episode at the end of April, and then one in May, one in June to kind of tie it up to when the new one's gonna be coming out at the end of May. So the next episode we're gonna be covering kind of the original trilogy before it kind of became reinvented. This is kind of the OG Mission Impossible trilogy. So Mission Impossible, which is another Brian De Palma film, so we'll be doing back to back De Palma. Um, and then Mission Impossible 2, Mission Impossible 3. 2 was John Woo, and I can't remember who did 3. I think it was J.J.
Abrams.
Abrams.
Yeah.
Cool. The next episode we do will be the other J.J. Abrams one, but the one that sort of started to reinvent or kind of modernize the franchise a little bit. So that would be Ghost Protocol, I think. If I remember correctly. Let me just pull this up to double check. I wasn't expecting to do this. I want to
that's
say
the
it's
Brad Bird one.
oh, maybe that is Brad Bird. Yes. Let me just double check this. Maybe I'm not an expert. I've
You're more of
seen
an expert than me. I've only seen the first one.
well, I've seen them all, so give me 2 moments here.
I just remember that the Brad Bird after he did some work with Pixar, everybody was so excited that he was jumping
Yes,
over
sorry, you're right.
to the
It
mission.
was produced by J.J. Abrams. That's where I got confused. So yeah, Brad Bird.
Okay.
So the second episode this will cover Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and Fallout. Rogue Nation is where Christopher McQuarrie, who's the current kind of helmer of the series, that's where he came in. And then the last episode will cover Dead Reckoning and then the final Reckoning. So the kind of last two, the kind of two-part ending of the series. So next episode will be the first three, which was Mission Impossible, which is 1996, Mission Impossible 2, which is 2000, Mission Impossible 3, which is 2006. Um, and then obviously the next three, and then the two Reckoning ones for to close it up. Um, as I said, I'm the kind of resident fan of these films. I'm unashamedly, I fucking love the Mission Impossible movies. I'm so excited to watch these. I hope I'm not like getting ahead of myself here. Like these are good movies. Like this is not going to be like a Fast and Furious rehash where we're all like hating ourselves. But these are good, especially like the kind of last 10 years worth. Mission Impossible 1 is good. 2 and 3 are very spotty. So next episode might be a bit hit or miss, but don't let that sour you because like the last 10 years plus of Mission Impossible movies are good. These are like actually like good films.
I just want to see
Um,
Tom Cruise fight Henry Cavill, so that's all I'm here for.
yes,
That's
reload the arms, man. He needs. I can't wait till we see Mustache Cavill reload his arms. That's probably the best one. So episode 2 is going to be fun. That's probably the best one. Um, Next episode is going to be interesting because especially Mission Impossible 2 is not very well regarded, just critically. So I think next episode, just kind of get through it, trust the process, because episode 2 is going to be a fucking banger.
I tend to
Uh,
like American John Woo, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing how I feel about two.
it's interesting. Like I said, I don't think this is not going to be a Fast and Furious rehash. At least I hope for you guys. I don't think it's going to be another one where we're just kind of like sick of it by the end. I'm really looking forward to rewatching these. I'm going to rewatch. Me and Neve love these movies. We watched them together. We're going to go see the new one when it comes out when we can get a sitter. So I'm really looking forward to going through the series with you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun for the next few episodes.
No, I can't. Is Christopher McQuarrie? You said he's the current Helmer, so is he kind of like the Justin Lin of this universe?
Yeah, he's kind of well, in terms of the more modern stuff, he's done the last. So he did. This will be his fourth one now that
Okay.
he's done the most recent one. So he will have done the last four. And he works a lot with Tom Cruise. I can't remember if he directed Top Gun Maverick, but he was involved in Top Gun Maverick, I believe. Let me just double check that
Is
as
he? I
Yeah.
well.
think he's a big writer, isn't he? Like, I think this guy's a writer first.
Let me just double
I have
check.
his
No, yeah, no, it was yeah,
name.
he co-wrote and co-produced Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, it's Joseph Kosinski is the director of Maverick.
I could have sat here all year and never would have guessed it. But Christopher McQuarrie, he just seems to have a good relationship with Tom Cruise, it seems, because he directed and wrote the Jack Reacher film from 2012. And ever since then, he's worked almost exclusively with Tom Cruise. Like he wrote the shitty Mummy movie. He wrote Edge of Tomorrow. He did also do Valkyrie. That was Tom Cruise as well, right?
Yeah,
Valkyrie,
that's Tom Cruise.
he co-wrote Valkyrie as well. So he just seems to have a really good relationship with Tom Cruise. Oh, he also co-wrote The Usual Suspects. I didn't know that. Oh no, he actually fully wrote The Usual Suspects.
Oh
That's
wow.
his,
No, no, this was his baby. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I was just about to jump in. I
I
think this is the
didn't
thing
know
that put
that.
him on the map.
So that makes sense. But yeah, like he's like I said, he's directed. This would be his fourth Mission Impossible film, the most recent one that he's directed. And I think these are like top tier action movies. When I think of like action films, these most recent the last 10 years worth of Mission Impossible, they're like cream of the crop for me.
I mean, if you're gonna
Uh,
say these are better than John Wick, we're gonna say you're putting a
well,
high expectation for me.
I've never seen a John Wick movie, so
Oh man.
I
Okay,
can't
fair
speak
enough.
on
Fair enough.
that.
Future episode. Um,
But anyway, so that's what we have to look forward to, listeners. Some Mission Impossible movies for the next couple of months. So I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I will. I can't say we, but as much as I will.
can't wait.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.